All right, guys, doing our 20-minute sound check. It is 3:38 on the East Coast. We'll be starting this webinar at 4 o'clock. Trying our first afternoon webinar this week. I thought this might be a good time with coaches starting up all around the country. Maybe Sunday afternoons is a good time for a web clinic. I know a lot of guys have game planning things going on. We've got even practices and film sessions all throughout the weekend. So we're going to experiment with a couple times to see if we can figure out what's good for the most amount of coaches. And I'm going to go mute here for a second and check some settings. And just let me know in the chat box if you can hear me. Thanks. All right, guys, we got about 15 minutes before we get going here, and just checking a few more things. I cannot make my slideshow full screen, so the first little bit, I can get it almost full screen, so you should be able to see it pretty good in your monitor. And you can always click down in the bottom right-hand corner of the video and make it full screen on your computer, so you don't have to watch it in the little box. If you're using the chat box below, all you have to do to turn off the little notifications from the sound is a speaker. There's a little speaker button down in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can click that off. Also, if you are on Facebook or Twitter, go tweet the link. Go tweet the link to this page, and that's 30defense.com/webclinic. Go give that a retweet. Tweet the link. Share it on your Facebook page. Send it to a couple coaches you know, and pull some more guys in. This is our first afternoon clinic. We had a couple hundred guys on the last clinic. That was a nighttime clinic at 9 o'clock. We are trying out an afternoon clinic today. I wanted to test and see if this worked for some guys. I want to do multiple clinics a week if possible, because I know everybody's got different times they can be here. But this is our first afternoon clinic, and I'd like to see if we could get 50 to 100 guys in this clinic today. So go share the link. That's 30defense.com/webclinic, and we will be starting in about 15 minutes while I go get a cup of coffee. All right, I'll talk to you in a few minutes. All right, guys, still got about 10 minutes left, and we're going to we got a bunch of people logging in right now. Some people are starting to fill into the chat room. Got a bunch of guys logging on to view. If you are viewing the webinar, you can click down at the bottom of the chat box. You can use Facebook or Twitter to log in, and you can actually participate in the discussion. Noticed a lot of guys have been watching, but not a lot of guys have been jumping in the conversation. So make sure you scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you are going to see a Facebook or a Twitter button, and you can sign in. There you go. There's a couple guys jumping in right now. And you can actually talk to us, ask questions, anything that you want answered. I'd love to hear about some option teams that you're facing. If you would like to see a specific play, I'm going to draw up 5 or 6 different options at the end of the webinar here. But I'm going to do split back veer. I'm going to look at some I-form option because we see a lot of that. And I'm also going to look at the Wofford style motion option, and we're going to look at some speed option and some different stuff out of shotgun because I know we've all got to deal with that read stuff. And but if you'd like to see something else, let me know, and that way I can add it into my script at the end of the presentation. And we've got plenty of stuff to draw up. And if you've got any questions, please keep them to option during this webinar. I want to make sure we stay focused when we're doing these web clinics so we can talk about one specific thing. And if you have any other questions, then you can send those to shanesams@coachxo.com, and I might actually be able to put those in future webinars because I'm going to have a bunch of these things during the football season and pretty much permanently. This is going to be in accompaniment of the podcast. The podcast and the webinars are going to kind of sync up from now on, where if I interview someone or if I'm talking about a specific topic, or even the audio from the webinar is actually going to be a part of the podcast. So I'm kind of in the process of linking these things together and getting that all taken care of. So if you've got any questions, go ahead and put them in. My wife Jocelyn is lurking around the chat box somewhere, and she will see them, and she is actually screening and forwarding those to me during the clinic. So just if you want to, just leave those in the chat box right now, and we will be starting in about 10 minutes. All right, guys, still got about 5 minutes left. This will be my final sound check. Just put down in the chat box if you can hear me. And if you cannot hear me, check your audio settings. It looks like I'm coming in pretty clear through most people, and all my levels look good here. And if you can see the screen, make sure it says defending the option with the 30 stack defense. So please put, Jocelyn's going to type into the chat box right now those instructions I just gave you. If you can hear me, just type I can hear you. And if you can see the screen, just put defending the option with the 30 stack defense, but I can see the presentation. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started today on our web clinic. Just want to give you a quick introduction to myself if you're new to CoachXO.com or 30defense.com, or maybe we just met each other in the 353 group over on Facebook. My name is Shane Sams. I've been coaching football since about 2002, and I grew up in a football town, man, so I've got football in my blood, and got my start at a high school down in Alabama, Daphne High School. and I had a great experience down there. And then I was lucky enough to be able to coach at the college level at West Virginia University and Eastern Kentucky University. And for the past 9 years, I've been a high school football coach. I have been a head football coach, and I had to run as a defensive coordinator. So that's what I've been doing. That's kind of my background in the game. And I've been involved in the 30-stack defense or some permutation of it at almost every stop I've been at, and had a lot of experience putting this defense in, not only at the high school level and the college level, but I was very much involved with my middle school and youth programs when I was a head football coach, and I always made sure that they were running versions of this defense so we could bring kids up through the feeder program in that. And one of the things that this defense does extraordinarily well is it gives you a lot of things to do against the option. And a lot of different teams run the option. You know, you see it out of 3-back sets. You see it out of 2-back sets. We see a lot of the zone read option type stuff out of gun. And those tricky offensive coordinators are getting pretty fancy with it. They're bringing guys in jet motion, optioning away from it. Even guys running out and faking to that back off the zone read. Quarterback pulls it with a 1-back set, and you see that little slot guy backing up and becoming a pitch man over on the perimeter. So there's a ton of different ways. Option football is alive and well, and especially at the lower levels of football, you're going to see a couple different kinds of option during your season. You know, you're going to see guys that are under center doing it, guys in the eye. You're going to see guys motioning people, and you're going to see guys in the gun. So you've got to have a good, solid game plan against the option. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of coaches make is they don't prepare for the option in the preseason. This is the perfect time to take a few days and get your option responsibilities down correctly. Don't wait for the option team to show up on your schedule. Get your option rules in place right now and work on them a little bit every week. Even if you're not playing a team that's running option football, make sure your kids understand the rules and you're not teaching a new defense, you know, every time an option team shows up on your schedule. Make sure you're working on it, okay? All right, a couple of announcements real quick. Once again, having a special tonight, $20 off memberships over at 30defense.com. This is a community of coaches all around the country that are joining together, and we're kind of helping each other game plan, helping each other through the season. There's a ton of articles on there, a ton of things about game plan specifically. We're going to talk a lot about game planning, how to beat certain offenses at 30defense.com, and we want you to make sure you have a chance to join that before the season gets started. Anyone that joins during this webinar or today, I'm going to leave a special going probably till about 12 Eastern time tonight. If you become a member of 30defense.com tonight, I'm going to give you a copy of Coach XO's football workouts. That is my year-long training plan for football teams. It works all the way from 7th grade and up. If you want to get your kids in the best shape of their life and you want to build a strong, fast football team so you've got good players on the field running your schemes, I highly recommend you check out my football workouts. I'm going to give a copy of that away for free. And not only will you get the rest of this year, which has in-season workouts, you will also get a free copy of the 2015 edition when it comes out in November. So make sure that you, if you want to join 30defense.com, do that during the webinar so that you can get a copy of that for free. I've also got a special door prize. I'm going to be giving away printed copies to one winner today, one person who signs up for 30defense.com during the webinar. If you sign up for that today, you are going to get one person is going to get a free copy of my printed books. Those are my best-selling books, the 30 Defense Playbook, the Advanced Playbook, and the 400-page installation manual. And all of the scout team cards, all 270 of them, are printed in this manual. And I'm going to be sending one lucky winner a copy of that in the mail. It'll be at your doorstep in a couple days, and you will have everything you need to be able to flip through the playbook on the field, in the office. You can leave one laying around in the bathroom, you know what I'm saying, if you're going into the library for a reading session. So make sure if you want to join 30defense.com, you're going to do that today. Also, anyone that shares a link at the Coach XO page over on Facebook, and how you do that is you just go to facebook.com/CoachXO. The top post, okay, basically is a link to CoachXO.com. Anyone that goes and shares that with a football coach, don't just share it on your wall. Go and click share and then choose a friend of yours that coaches football. Doesn't matter if they're running the 30-stack defense. Doesn't matter what they're doing. Share that with a football coach you know that you just let them know about CoachXO.com. Make sure in the chat roll you put I shared, and then we will go look at the shares to make sure you did. We're going to be giving away a free copy of my Advanced Playbook today to anyone who shares that. So make sure you go look at that, click the link, share it, and you will be put into a drawing at the end of the clinic to get a free copy of my Advanced playbook. So a lot of good stuff going on today, a lot of giveaways. We've got about $400 in giveaways to a special winner who joins 30defense.com. And I've got one more announcement too. If you're a teacher, if you're a U.S. history teacher, social studies teacher, and you're like me, you know, during the football season, it's kind of hard to concentrate on, you know, all my lessons and get everything done because we got so much to do with football, practice after school, game planning, all those things. I have a new website that my brother and I have put together. We've been history teachers for about 10 years, both of us. And we put together a special website at ushistoryteachers.com, and we have created lesson plans for every single day of the school year, every subject in U.S. history. And the reason we designed it, I designed it for me because I wanted to get everything done so I could maybe watch a little film in class, you know what I'm saying, while the kids were working, or make sure I didn't have to plan anything during my planning period or after school. So I put this together basically for football coaches and guys that needed to do a few things during school. You can subscribe to the email list. At the bottom of this chat roll, it says, Coach, are you a history teacher? And I will send you free lesson plans for your classroom all season long to make sure you got a little extra time free during class, during your planning period, or even night after school, so you don't have to worry about making lesson plans. I've got you taken care of, man. So make sure you subscribe to the email list if you teach social studies or you're a U.S. history teacher. You can do that with the subscribe button at the bottom of this page. Okay? All right, let's jump into the heart of our presentation today. We are going to talk about the 30-stack defense and how it lines up against the option. And that should say 4 tips, so I'm going to go ahead and correct that right now. We're live, folks. No mistakes. All right. I have four philosophies, I guess you could say, 4 keys to defending the option in the 3 defense, or 30 defense, 3-3-5, whatever you want to call it. All right. The first is ABC, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I always tell my kids, defending the option is as easy as ABC. You just have to know who's going to A and who's going to B and who's going to C. So we're going to talk about that. My second philosophy or key to stopping the option is to win non-option downs, and you determine that by tendency and breaking down film. That's a critical component. You cannot line up and stop the option and be disciplined every single play. These are young kids. If you're trying to stop the option with disciplined 13-year-olds, you are not going to do that during an entire game. But we can definitely overload other downs and stop some other plays and put them in bad situations and maybe even prevent them from being able to run the option. So you've got to win the non-option downs. You have to be aggressive in non-4-down territory. I'm going to show you a little field map of that here in a few minutes to make sure you know what I'm talking about. And my biggest tip that I could ever give to any coach when he's lining up against an office team, and this is regardless of what defense you're running, is you really want to turn every option into a sweep. Now, some guys look at you kind of funny when you say that and say, well, what about this fast running back? What if he gets the edge? What if he turns the corner? Well, you can't let the fullback eat you to death 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You can never let the quarterback loose because if you spread yourself thin and you're trying to cover everything at once, he's going to eat you alive. And I would much rather a guy 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage catch the football running toward the sideline than I would for the other 2 guys who are running off tackle or running through the A-gap. So we're going to talk more about that in just a second. All right. Tip 1, ABC. It's as easy as ABC, okay? What we always tell our kids is that all you have to know if you want to know who you defend on the option, and there's 3 different points of attack on the option. There's a dive back, there's a quarterback player, and there's a pitch guy, okay? We have to know, because of our slant, who is going to end up in what gap and where you're going to end up on either your flow read or if we blitz you, to make sure that you are tackling the correct guy. We do practice this with no ball. We do no ball drill during option week if we have an option team. And we want to make sure that we're tackling all 3 guys every single time during option practice that week to make sure guys understand you've got a responsibility and you've got to tackle one person. So we tell our guys 3 rules. If your slant or if your blitz or if your flow takes you to A gap or B gap, then you are responsible for the dive back, okay? And you can see here we've got the A gap marked and the B gap marked right behind there. The A gap, of course, is between center and guard. The B gap is between the guard and the tackle. Now, we've slanted strong here, okay? We'll slant it to the left. So the nose guard ended up in the A gap. Well, he's definitely a dive player. He either has to do one of 2 things. He's got to occupy this space to to where the dive back cannot come through it, or he's got to tackle the dive back. If for some reason, like if it's some kind of veer option and he gets unblocked, he is going to have to try to do that. Now, we keep our rules in place. We tell our linemen, your job is to keep people off our linebackers. So the thing we would really love to have happen here is this nose guard, destroy this guard. Hit him, hang on to him, tackle him if you have to. But it's going to be tough if they've got big splits. But he's still trying to slant into this gap, hit this guard, and keep him off our middle linebacker. But he is responsible for the dive back. If the dive back tries to come through a gap, he's either got to occupy space or he has to make the tackle. All right, now, we did not call a blitz on this play the way I drew it up. And the reason I did that is because before we get into blitzing, I want to talk about how we flow read. We flow with the football. We have a read. In this situation, we would read the strong side back. Once we see dive, we assume option to the strong side, so we're going to flow strong. And instead of saying, all right, Mike, the nose went left, so you've got right, we don't tell our kids that. We say, you've got the first open window to flow. So if we get flow strong, the Mike linebacker is not responsible for this A gap. He's actually responsible for this B gap because it's the first open window to the flow side that we see in this drawing. So because his flow took him to the B gap, he would be responsible for dive. Now hang on with me here. If for some reason, let's say this tackle makes a mistake and he shot into the B gap, well, even though Mike is moving toward B, he's going to see that window close. He would flow to C, which would put him on the quarterback. So he has got to read and react as he goes, and whatever gap he ends up in, B area or C area, that's going to determine where he ends up. We could also pinch right here. We could take the tackle and put him in B gap immediately, and we could clog this up to make sure that dive's not going to happen. And when that quarterback reads the tackle moving in, he's probably going to pull it anyway. That's going to put Mike out on the C. So it's not necessarily an assignment pre-snap. We're going to flow and read this as we go, unless we were to blitz. If we had blitzed this Mike linebacker into the other A gap, he would be a dive player because we told him pre-snap, we put him where we wanted him and told him who his assignment was. So make sure you understand, these arrows do not mean I'm blitzing right here. We are flow reading this. So Mike's first open window in this drawing is B. He is a dive player because he ended up in the B gap. Now the C gap player is our backer right here because our tackle, he's going to plug into C gap and close that up. He would be a quarterback player. So if he were unblocked, like let's say they did jump through and try to block our Mike and our backer and left him to read off of, then he's going to tackle the quarterback. He's going to force the pitch. Our stud linebacker is our D gap player, and in a normal situation where we're not blitzing, he is always the force. He is responsible for the pitch, but you have to play this in a certain way. What you don't want to happen is this. You don't want your stud linebacker to run up the line of scrimmage and go to pitch. Now, a lot of coaches I see are like, go tackle the pitch man right now. Take him out, destroy him, and don't even let him catch the pass or the pitch. We used to do that. And the quarterback was always just, not pitching and eating us alive in the off-tackle area. So what we do now is our stud goes to the line of scrimmage, and he's going to play pitch horizontal. He's going to stretch it out and kind of shuffle to the sideline to play pitch. I don't care if the quarterback pitches it way deep and he catches it 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, as long as my guy doesn't run back there and miss. So we are playing this toes on the line of scrimmage when we read option. He's going to let all this develop, and he's going to kind of read and react here. He's going to sit here and make that quarterback think, oh, man, now I've got all these guys to deal with. I better pitch it, because if a quarterback's any good and he sees that guy run to the pitch man, well, he's just going to keep it and come upfield. And we don't want that to happen. We want to turn everything into a pitch. So our stud linebacker is going to come to the line of scrimmage, and he's going to sit and squat, and he's going to wait when that quarterback sees it. When he sees the pitch, we even then don't want him to run into the backfield. We want him to string this out sideways. We want him to string it out, and we want to make sure that we have time for everybody to come help. Now look at this backer. In this situation, C and D are done. Anytime we have a guy that ends up without a flow or without a gap, he'll take quarterback to pitch and ignore the dive. He's so far out, he doesn't have to worry about the dive player. We're going to have backside support here through the cutback lane on dive. We got our Mike linebacker. We've got 4 or 5 guys already on the dive. So he's going to come down and play quarterback to pitch. And the critical thing that we do against the option in the 3-5-3 or the 30 stack defense is we release our free safety a lot on option downs. We actually have a call worked out where he can just go play and fit inside the run fit, and we tell him that he is also quarterback to pitch. So everyone's covered no matter how we do this, as long as they know what gap they end up in. And the line have an easy job because they're going to slant directly into a gap. If we blitz them, they already know who they're going to take out, so they can actually, like if we were to blitz this backer through the B gap, then he could just look at the fullback and take him out as he's coming through and make sure he gets him. So we can dial in who we want to defend each gap, but we always have built-in screw-up protection. There's always one more guy on the next level that can make up for the next guy. So if the Mike misses him, the backer's coming. The nose misses him, the Mike's got him. If the tackle misses the quarterback, we've got a linebacker and a free safety playing quarterback, then pitch. And when they finally do pitch it, we're at least going to have the stud and the free safety going into the backfield. So the key point here is it's easy as ABC when you're defending the option, but make sure your stud, your outside linebacker, does not cross the line of scrimmage. Don't blitz the stud. Don't blitz this guy into the backfield. Don't tell him, kill the pitch man. We want them to pitch it. Let the pitch man stay back there. Make sure you've outnumbered the quarterback and the fullback. Make them pitch it, and we'll take our chances out on the perimeter. All right? All right, the next tip for defending the option, huge tip here, is you've got to win non-option downs. Now, I pulled this exact scenario from last year. I pulled this out of a game plan that we had. The option is hard because it takes it out of your hands a little bit. They're letting their kids beat your kids. That's why the option's tough to defend. That's why lesser teams can use the options against more talented opponents, because if they can't block you, well, then they'll just outthink you. I'll just read that 3 technique we can't block, and we'll pitch it off of him if he tries to tackle him, or we'll make him make a mistake. So the option downs become very difficult because I'm telling you right now, your middle school and your high school kids or youth kids are not going to be disciplined every single play versus the option. You're going to get burnt on an option or two when you're playing a team that does this for a living. But what you can control is they're not going to run option every single down. They're going to run power some. They're going to trap you some. They're going to put a little play action some. And these option teams are usually very predictable in what downs and distances they will treat as non-option downs. So what we want to do when we game plan for an option team is we want to find those non-option downs, and we want to attack them hard. We want to put them in awful situations and blitz the crap out of them when we know they're not running the option, when we know they're not doing something tricky, when we know we don't have to worry about our kids playing perfect. As a coach, I have to find those downs and distances so we can get them in 3rd and 15. If it's 1st and 10 and they get a couple yards from their little fullback dive and it's 2nd and 8 and now they're going to run something else to try to, maybe set up the option on a play action down or something like that, or maybe they get a 2nd and 3 and they want to run that play action. If you can find some good spots on film or on your game plan where you can attack that and destroy them, now you can put them in 3rd and 12. Listen, you ain't running the option on 3rd and 12. You might, but you're probably not going to get the first. So you want to put them in bad situations by winning non-option downs. So look at this scenario that I found in a game plan from last year. This was just last season. We were playing an I team, loved to run the option out of the I, loved to run it weak for some reason, loved to set up the weak side option a bunch, and they would do that with strong side runs. So what they would do is they would run, get you over on a hash, and then they try to run the option toward the field, to give that quarterback and that pitch man some room to work. On the weak side, they get you in put the tight end into the boundary, and they come back out to the wide side. So when we looked at this film, we found a certain down and distance where they were 68% off tackle, 75% strong. But here's the huge thing we saw. Only 10% of the time on this down and distance did they run an option. It was always a handoff on this down and distance. And this was a pretty common down and distance. It was like 2nd and 7 or something like that. It was a pretty good scenario we knew we were going to be in a few times. So when I was making the game plan, I said, okay, this is a great chance to blitz. You got to be careful. You can blitz the option, but you want to be careful because you can blitz yourself right out of your scheme, and they can get a big gain on you. But we found this down and distance for 90% of the time. We were positive that it was not going to be an option, and 75% of the time we knew it was going to go to the tight end. So we thought that we could predict here most of the time in this situation we're going to get some kind of off-tackle run toward that tight end. All right. So what we did was we drew up a blitz to stop this play. Okay, and we wanted a tackle for loss here. This was we were bringing everybody to the point of attack to make sure that we could blow this play up and get them in a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, whatever we could get out of it. But we really wanted to blow this up. So here's what we called. We called slant weak, and we brought our weak side guys in. Dog strong, and our dog means that our inside backer and our Mike is going on the strong side, okay? We called snakes, which is our outside linebacker blitz, and you can see here there's a weak side edge. The reason this guy is going in instead of to the weak side is because this stud needed the edge to blitz, so he told him, check, inside. So he basically changed his stunt, all right? And then we called release. Now, this is something that we do a lot against heavy run teams, or if we run into an option team. Release means our free safety is to backpedal 2 steps only to get a run read, and then he's going to go to flow and become an extra player on the run side. All right, that's something we do all the time. We do not see a lot of posts in our area. Nobody throws to the middle of the field that much unless it's a seam of some kind. And if we've got a 75% kind of run down, we are probably going to release our free safety and just let him play and play some kind of bastardized version of cover 2 here. We're going to have these guys, they're playing cover 3, but they're kind of giving up the middle, okay? But what this did was this completely overwhelmed the side that we believe they were running to, and we are banking on a tackle for loss, a tackle for no gain, or something here because we knew it was a non-option down. Most option teams, offensive guys are going to be about 60% option. They're not going to run it 9 times out of 10. Go in and find the times that they're not and draw up your stunts at those moments to create momentum, to put them in bad situations. And these guys work on option 85% of their practice. Get them in 3rd and 15 when they've got to throw, and you're going to get the ball back. You're either going to pick it or they're punting on 4th. So really, when you go into your game plan, you've got to win the non-option downs. All right. The third tip is be aggressive in non-4 down territory. A lot of option teams want to get past the 50. That's their psychological point. That's where they want to go to make sure that they can get you in a situation where they can go for it on 4th down every single time. So make sure that you go into the game and that you know that you can stop them. You want to stop them before they cross the 50, because if you get in 4 down territory, they're going to be tough to beat. All right. So when you get a team, let me. A lot of coaches don't do this, but let me show you how to number the field. We call behind, like if they get the ball at the 1 yard line, they got 99 yards to go. Anything behind the 50 is the minus territory. That's like the minus 10. They're 90 yards away. It's the negative 20. They're 80 yards away. When they cross the 50, they get into positive territory. All right. So this is a good way to break down film so that when you're looking at it, you say, okay, they're on the minus 40. You know that they're still 60 yards away from the goal line, but if they're on the positive 40, they're only 40 yards away. You want to keep them out of that positive territory. You do not want them to cross the 50, or really the 40 is about when most guys will go for it on 4th down every single time. What we don't want an option team to have is an extra down. We don't want them to get 4 chances to run the football, because that's all they do in practice. They're going to be really good at it when they get to the game. So make sure that you are keeping them out. You want to be aggressive back here. If you're going to blitz the option, if you want to take some chances, like on those downs where you've really got to beat on them, it's a non-option down. This is where you want to take your chances, behind the 40-yard line. You want to do everything in your power to attack them, to get after them, to screw up their blocking schemes, to make a big play happen back here behind the 50. Because it's going to become so much more stressful for your kids, and you're going to have to become more vanilla when you get to this 40-yard line, because once they cross into this territory, when they're, if they've got a good kicker and they only need to get to the 20 to get points, or if they just say, screw it, we're this far in, we're not punting, we've got 4 downs to run the football, to run our option and let them make a mistake, you're going to have to, your hands are going to be tied a little bit, and you're going to have to play base, and you're going to have to trust those 15-year-old kids to make good reads every single play inside the 30-yard line. You don't want to do that. So if you're going to blitz the option, and I highly recommend you do, because don't listen to people that tell you cannot blitz the option. You can. If anything, in our defense, this 30 stack, it's going to give you a chance to control who's getting the football, and you can take back some of that from the offense. But if you're going to, you better do it behind the 40-yard line, because it's going to be a lot tougher down here. When you get to the 40-yard line and in, you really need to be playing base and letting your kids read and react inside to the option. because if you any mistake down here, if you give a 20-yarder up back here on the -30, that's just a 50-yard line. You still got a chance to play. You give up a 20-yarder on the 30 because you blitzed wrong or you made a bad call, and we all make bad calls, then they're going to be on inside the 10-yard line. They're probably going to get points. So when you blitz, be aggressive anytime they're behind the 40-yard line, anytime they're in this minus territory. This is where you want to blitz the option. You want to attack them. You want to play your tendencies, everything you got. And then once they cross here, you want to kind of be in base and trust your reads and trust your recognition. All right, this is the biggest point that I want to make today. And if you don't take anything else out of this, I want you to remember this point. Against an option team, turn everything into a sweep. Everything into a sweep. When I first started coaching and calling plays as a head coach and a defensive coordinator, I was like everybody else. I'm like, man, we got to stop that fullback, because if we don't stop the fullback, then it's going to be a long day. Okay, so but when I realized what was really happening, it was never the fullback that was really beating me. It was either the quarterback or it was the sweep back, as he was catching it and he was getting loose. Okay, so what I did was I said, we've got to turn everything. Where the problem is, I'm relying on these young kids to recognize everything that's happening in real time, to make sure that they can stop the option. And they all, I've got my dive, got my quarterback, got my pitch, everybody's covered. But then I realized, what if I could just turn everything into a sweep? What if I could force them to pitch the ball every time? Then I know where the ball is. My kids know where the ball is, and everything becomes so much easier. You can't always force that handoff. You can't always force that quarterback to keep it, because that quarterback is making decisions, and you don't exactly know what he's going to do. But I know this. When you make it a sweep every time, when you force them to pitch the ball every single time, you know where the ball is. So we want to know where the ball is. Make sure that you're trying to, anything you line up, any blitz that you have, make sure that you are trying to turn the play into a sweep. Okay? When you draw up a blitz in your 30-stack defense, make sure you're taking away the first two options. First, attack that fullback. Clog A and B with everything you've got. If they hand it off inside that A and B gap, there has to be a mess there that he cannot get through. That's your first mission when you're drawing up your slants and your blitzes against an option team, is figure out how you can clog up A and B gap. The next thing you've got to do is take away the quarterback. And we do that by putting like 3 guys playing quarterback to pitch every single chance that we get. We even make our corners eyeball the quarterback, and while they're in their back pedal, to make sure he doesn't pull it. Because I've been beat by that quarterback way more in an option team than I've ever been beat by the running back. So make sure you're putting people on the quarterback, and he sees those people. He has to have a guy flash in his face to force him to pitch it, or he's going to get his teeth knocked out. So make sure you've got someone on the fullback. Make sure you're clogging up A through C gap. Deploy all your troops into the A, B, and C gaps and get them clogged and make that thing into a pitch. Another huge advantage for turning everything into a sweep is you make them execute. Ride, read, pitch. Ride, read, pitch. Ride, read, pitch. Make them do all 3 options every single time that they run it. Don't let the quarterback off easy. Remember, he's reading one of your players. You can force him to give the ball to the fullback or pull it. You can make him go through his entire progression by the action of your players. This lets them make the mistake. It doesn't rely on your kid's discipline, because, coach, no matter how good you are, there's always that knucklehead that's not paying attention in practice. And when he gets into the game, he's going to make a mistake. Someone's going to mess up against an option team. But if you can make them have to execute every single time, don't let it be a handoff. Don't if you take your 3 technique, or take your 5 or whatever you want to call them on your tackle. We call ours 4s. Slant them inside and make him pull it. Don't let him just hand it off. You can force that read on the quarterback. Make him look at the end man in the C gap and make him pitch it. Make him make all the decisions, so he's the one that gets to screw up and not your linebacker that wasn't paying attention in practice. The next thing you want to do is outnumber the diving quarterback with your blitzes. You can blitz the option. I want to stress that. Do I want you to do it every time? No. Would I rather you blitz the non-option downs? Of course I would. But you can blitz the option to force them to ride it out to the pitch. Very often I will blitz the dog on the side of the option. If I think they're going to run option strong, I will send the Mike and the backer on that side because I want that quarterback to see people in his face, okay? And I want him to take them out. That way he has to pitch it. So I use my blitz for one reason against an option team, to force them all the way to the pitch. I want to turn everything into a sweep and let my stud, my free safety, and the linebacker I've got left go tackle that guy or pursuit to catch him when he flattens out. So use your blitz to force them to the pitch. Make them pitch the football, okay? I especially want to emphasize that you need to overload that QB. You know, you can clog the A gaps one-on-one, put one guy in each gap, but you need two people at least looking at the quarterback every play. Off tackle is so dangerous in the option offense. How many times on Saturdays when you're watching college football do you see that quarterback read the play, he lets that quarterback ride him, and he goes and he's off to the races for a touchdown? You know, everybody gets freaked out. If you don't stop the fullback, it's a long night. No, it's not. That's just a lot of yards. I don't care about yards. I care about points. So we're going to overload that touchdown player, the quarterback player, and we're going to make sure we got two sets of eyeballs looking at him every play, even if we have to release our free safety. That brings me to my third point here. Use your free safety and your secondary to help on sweep. Our corners become the force on option plays. We want the stud to force the pitch, but we want our corners to get off that stock block with outside leverage and make sure we're turning the play back inside or running the pitch out of bounds. And we love to release our free safety. If you do not have a release call for your free safety to get him directly into your run fits, you need to add that into practice on Monday, Coach. Go in and add a release call, which means free safety. You do not have coverage responsibilities. You're going to take 2 steps back. Give him a good run read. He can read flow or he can read the strong side guard, whatever you want him to do. But put a release call into your stack defense. And now it's like you're playing with 12 people because you've got an extra guy that they cannot account for in the box when you release your free safety. Don't even rely on him to run it. Just let him go and let him get downhill and let him stop people. All right? Now, your studs, the last thing I want to say, and I'm going to show you this on the board, we're going to draw this up, is you want to let them string him out to the sideline. Your studs need to push everything to the sideline, and you do not want them to cross the line of scrimmage, okay? All right, I'm going to pull up my whiteboard here. Give me just a few second break while I get the screen switched, and I want you to ask some questions while I go into the drawing session, and out down in the chat box, just say, hey, Jocelyn, and leave your question, and she's going to forward some of those to me that I can answer at the end. But the first thing we're going to look at is I'm going to show you our studs and how they play versus the option, and I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. So a little 2-minute break here. All right, guys, getting Playmaker set up here so I can show you all a few things on the board. Don't forget, if you have not shared yet, go share the link at facebook.com/CoachXO with a coach that you know on Facebook or Twitter. You can share that on Twitter, too. That counts. And put I shared down in the chat box, and I'll be giving away a copy of my advanced playbook to anyone who shares. And anyone that signs up for 30defense.com today, you can do that with the giant button right under the video screen that says click here to join 30defense.com and get season-long support. Not only will you get season-long support, you will also be entered into a drawing to get a free printed copy of my 3 best-selling books, the 30 Defense Playbook, the Advanced Playbook, and the Installation Manual, which is 400 pages long and has over 270 pre-drawn scout team cards. If you hate drawing scout cards, I'm going to send you a free copy of my Installation Manual, put you in a drawing for that today, and you will get all of those. And I will also be giving you a copy of my year-long weight training guide and speed training guide for football players, Coach XO's football workouts, and that will go along with anyone who signs up for 30defense.com today. Okay? All right, let's get started here. Oh, yeah, one more thing. If you're a history teacher, there might be a couple of you guys lurking around down here, or a social studies teacher who knows history teachers, you can sign up for the email list at ushistoryteachers.com at the bottom of this chat roll, and I will be sending you free lesson plans all year long to make sure you got plenty of time to watch a little film during your planning period or while your kids are taking a test. All right? All right, hold on one second. Let me set this up, and we will get going on the board. All right, let's get this going here. Don't forget, guys, there is a replay for this that will be available on this website until Friday, and after that, all replays are only viewable by members of 30defense.com. You can go back and watch every web clinic that we've had. All right, let's look at the option here real quick. I'm going to show a simple option to the weak side. I'm not really going to get into the blocking schemes. I just want to show you what the stud is doing on the option to make sure that you understand what I'm trying to accomplish with him. Now, let's slant. I'm going to slant strong during this example, just to put my guys in a bind here. All right, and just to show you kind of how everybody goes. And we're going to go ahead and blitz the Mike. So by blitzing him through A gap, he's automatically on dive, and so is the tackle. So they're going to slant in A and B gap. They're definitely getting the tackle, the fullback. So when the fullback comes through to his option, we can get on aiming points later. I'm not really worried about that right now. Just an example here. All right, we're going to get a good flow read here by everybody in the option. Quarterback shoulders are going to turn. He's going to go. Everybody's trying to jump through. Hopefully this tackle just blows up this guard and rushes him right into that gap. Mike linebacker takes out the fullback. By all sense and purposes, they're reading this in man. Usually we get our tackles read. I know that some people will, when they put a tight end out, they will read our outside linebacker, who we call the stud. But a lot of times most teams are just, used to looking for a three-tech type guy, first guy past the, center, however they want to teach it. But they're usually reading our tackle. So I can manipulate, if the quarterback pulls it here, by my slant. That's such a powerful thing about this defense, is you don't have to play in the gaps. You can tell them, if you can figure out their reads on film, you can manipulate what that quarterback sees, because he's been taught this since June, July, spring football. They're not going to be able to erase his reads overnight in your stacked defense. So use that against them, figure out their rules. Oh, they're reading the tackle. We're going to do that. So he slants inside, he pulls it. Quarterback gets to here. On our flow reads, what's going to happen is the backer is going to flow to C gap. So that's going to put him on the quarterback. So immediately, as long as this guy doesn't get through, we're going to get a guy on the quarterback in his face based on their reads. Okay? You can even blitz the dog here, but just remember, tell your kids, if you blitz, I want you to walk up here and blitz. I want you to be on the line of scrimmage, blitzing in your gap, and I want that quarterback to see it happen, because we're not really trying to disguise anything. We're trying to manipulate their reads and force them to pitch. All right? So let's just say we call dog here. All right? So this will be slant weak, or slant strong, dog weak. All right? Now, we have forced them to play into our hand. We have forced them to read and pull, read the quarterback guy getting ready to get killed. We have forced them to do what we wanted. We forced them with our blitz to pitch the ball, and that's exactly what we want to happen. Now, the stud is the key part. How many times have you seen coaches that are like, go kill the pitch man? Go kill him. Take him out. Knock him out. That way when the quarterback gets here and he throws it, he's going to fumble the football and we're going to get it back. No, that never happens. What happens is the quarterback gets here, he turns and he gets clobbered maybe, or he makes this guy miss and he runs for a touchdown. Okay? So we don't really want him to go take him out immediately. What we want to happen is this. We want our stud to come to the line of scrimmage. That's how we want him to play versus the option. And the reason we want him to do that is this. When the quarterback gets here and he's got to pitch it, we want that stud to play sideways. We don't want him to, as soon as he pitches it, we don't necessarily want him to go after this guy. Now, this guy, if he pitches it and he did not hit the quarterback, he can break off and he can go attack into the backfield. But we want the stud to play down the line of scrimmage, shoulder square, kind of shuffling, okay? And on this play, we're going to let him block him, and I'm going to show you what to do on a crack block here in a second. But the reason we want the stud to do that is because let's say that the back beats. Let's say he beats this guy right here, okay? Even if he gets to the edge, we want him to keep moving. Well, if I can pick the guy here. We want him to keep moving all the way to the sideline. If our stud is playing sideways, he's going to stay back there, or he's going to redirect and get himself in all kinds of trouble, and he is done. There is no way he can get us back because of pursuit, okay? Remember, we're also letting our free safety into our run reads, so he is going to be attacking inside of the stud's force. So the stud is playing sideways, but he's got all kinds of support. This guy's scraping, and he's going to get over here into the mix. He's going to get into it. So we got all kinds of guys chasing this running back inside of this force. So make sure that your stud, don't send your guys into the backfield to kill the pitch man. That's pointless, especially if the guy doesn't pitch it. If the quarterback makes this guy miss and cuts up field, I would much rather my stud be near this line of scrimmage to come back on the quarterback and help in pursuit than to lose him into the backfield. Force the pitch, but let your stud play force vertical. I'm telling you, this is going to eliminate all kinds of problems, not only versus the option in your defense, but it's going to really help you versus any kind of perimeter play. And the option, once it gets to the pitch man, is a perimeter play. So play your stud down the line of scrimmage, force the play to stretch out and string out, and give all these extra support players that they can't account for, give them a chance to get back into the ball. Now, what happens on this? What happens on the good old crack block? Okay, first of all, you got to train your corners to say crack so somebody doesn't get their neck broke. But if we get a crack, okay, then of course the corner is going to be screaming crack, and he's going to get probably hit right there. What happens in our defense? The free safety has time to react. He's kind of our fixer-upper guy. He's the best player we've got on defense, so we're going to use him in our run fits quite a bit. The corner is going to be backpedaling, and he's going to drift, and he's going to see that crack, and then he has to replace as the force player. So he's the guy that's going to come down and play down the line of scrimmage on the pitch man if he sees the crack. Now, if this guy were to take off, the free safety, he's backpedaling, and when he hears crack, he's coming over the top. That looks complicated, but it's really not when you figure it out. Your free safety has a job. Read the option and keep his ears open. The corner has a job. If he sees that hard crack, then he's going to warn the stud, who's going to try to scrape over top. You know, we don't want him to get blocked in. We want him to, if he hears crack, he's going to try to throw across wrong arm and come back into the play like this. Okay? But then he is released off the crack to go pursue in the backfield, and the corner just replaces him as the contained force guy, and free safety gets over the top. That way, if this guy runs some kind of like fake crack and he goes into the seam, okay, then we got the free safety picking him up over the top, so it's no big deal. So they just exchange roles on that crack block, and you've got to really work hard on this guy's really dive bombing inside to kill somebody, or is he just kind of drifting inside to trick you, all right? But the corner just has to scream crack, 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 crack as loud as he can in his back pedal, and his eyeballs are turning the whole way. He's not just going to bail into the run fit. He's going to go 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. If he sees contact on the crack, he's going to release late and become the extra force player. Crack, 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 boom, and he's over the top. Okay? So that's how we deal with cracks. A lot of teams love to do that, and you can tell on film. Tell your kids, you know, if this guy's usually out here, you know, don't be fooled by any kind of fake crack or seam or whatever. If he's way in here and all of a sudden he's getting real tight, well, they're trying to crack somebody, a force player or a quarterback. They're trying to crack somebody inside that guy. So make sure that they communicate that and you've taught that, and that your corner replaces. But don't let your corner fly onto the pitch. Let him come to the line of scrimmage and shuffle String this thing out. This kid, no matter how good he is going to see this guy, and he's either going to challenge him and get tackled or slowed down, or he's going to cut back into all this pursuit. So that's what I mean when I say somebody on the force has got to go to the line of scrimmage. Don't attack the pitch man. Don't do that. I know that goes against a lot of things that a lot of guys are taught, but whatever you do, don't do that, because it's going to get you into trouble. You're going to, if anybody misses, you're messed up. If the quarterback does something unpredictable, it's going to screw you up. Make sure you're taking away the dive immediately, taking away quarterback. Force them to pitch with your movement, and then string that sweep out as long as you can. You're going to get all kinds of tackles for loss doing it this way if you can turn that into a pitch every time. All right, let me pull up a new board, and now I'm going to show you something on the we got a question here about a 12 personnel read option, and I'm going to show you that right now on the board. So let me switch my play here. All right, let's get right. We're getting into our questions now. I hope that made sense on turning everything into a pitch and using your blitz to force them to do what you want them to do, take the decisions out of their hands. All right, the first question that I've got here is, let's see, Coach, I think Coach Madry wanted to show this. He wanted to see how a 12 personnel, that's a tight end with two backs, how you deal with that with the read option. And what he's saying here is this. The read option is going to happen in the backfield, and we'll do a strong. Let's do a weak side. Let's do a strong side. All right, what's going to happen is you're going to have action this way. Let's do it from the weak side because it'll work better. All right, we're going to read this tackle right here, so we're going to read. All right, he's going to fake this, or he's not faking. He's coming across the quarterback for the mesh, and we're looking right here. This is who we're looking at. We're looking at this tackle right here. I'm going to change his symbol so we know who we're reading. All right, that triangle is who we're reading. Okay, they're going to try and jump everybody else through and get a numbers band. They're going to try to flow this guy. What they're hoping happens here, they're hoping they get flow and get him out of the play, and then they can come, and they're hoping for a slant or an inside. If he dives inside, then what the quarterback then is going to do is he's going to pull it, and he's coming outside, and here comes the pitch man behind him. He's coming back here, and what they're hoping happens is, and we'll block, but sometimes they run that guy off. What they're hoping happens is this. They're hoping they see him diving inside. There's his read to pull it, but they're hoping the backer flows, and now they've got 2-on-1. All right? So that's basically the option. Now, what we do is anytime we get split back, like when we get 12 personnel and shotgun coach, what we do is we cross key with our studs and our cross key with our linebackers. So let me get a little dotted line action going here. Normally we read one back. We're going to look at one back in most teams that are running base plays. And we actually have a way to change these reads on the fly if we want to. We make a call inside of our play call. But what we're going to do here is we're going to cross key and look opposite, because in the option you always end up being responsible for what's on the other side, because that's the trickiness. That's where it comes at you. So this backer is going to cross key to this back. This stud is going to cross key to this back. All right, that's called cross keying. We're looking across the football to key this guy. And same thing over here. Let me change the color so we don't get confused here. Change this to blue. All right, this backer is going to cross key to number 4, and this stud's going to cross key to number 4. So it's kind of confusing. We're looking now. The Mike is going to read the strong side back. He's going to read a true read because he wants that dive player. You know, if he sees this guy coming across, if he goes behind the quarterback, well, he knows to dive on the play side. And if he goes straight ahead, he knows to go knock him out. All right. So by cross keying, when you do this, it keeps your guys from getting fooled when they're doing all this mesh bull crap on you right here. So let's look at how this works. So remember, we're cross keying, and I'm going to take these two out so we can see this better. All right. I'm going to leave the other side in just because we're looking at the play side. All right, so by cross keying, here's what we see. We see this back move behind the quarterback, okay? Well, that tells this linebacker, he's looking at this guy. When he goes back here, well, he knows that flow's coming this way. Even though this cat's going to cross in front of the quarterback, he understands that the Mike linebacker is going to see that, and he's going to dive. So that's his flow key. So let me get a slant going here. I'll slant him in just for fun. All right. If this cat runs across here, he knows that guy's leaving him, but he's running toward two other players. Okay? This is covered. He knows that number 4 is out of it. He's cross keying. He understands that this guy is coming toward him, but behind the quarterback. So he knows on his to step forward, he's going to watch that mesh, and when the quarterback pulls it, he's going to end up right here. And the stud knows that this back is coming toward him behind the quarterback. Well, he's the pitch man. So he's going to go to the line of scrimmage, and he's going to sit there. We are still going to honor this player. We're definitely going to honor that. We're telling them, he's coming toward B gap, A gap area. He's a dive player. You got to go. You got to stop that. You got to stop the dive, and you are responsible for this C gap because you got flow, man. You got your guy flowing toward you. You got to make sure he doesn't bounce out off tackle. But here's the rub. Here's the weapon that we have that other people and other defenses do not have. We got the free safety. Now, let's say we didn't release him. He's going to take 3 steps, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. He's going to keep backpedaling until he gets flow, and once he gets flow, he sees that the quarterback pulled it. He sees the mesh was a decoy. He's coming downhill through the alley. So when we first drew the play up, we had a 2-on-1 situation where the offense had our stud in a bind. But by reading cross keys in this split back stuff, and you can do this under center if it's split back veer, or if you've got 21 personnel in the shotgun, just read across the formation and let your free safety release into the run fit. Don't be afraid of post and deep balls. You can let this guy backpedal 3 steps, 5,001, 1,002, 1,003. I've never seen a play that wasn't ready to do something at 1,003. It's going to be a run play or it's going to be a throw at 1,003. Once he sees that, dig his foot in the ground, he sees it's a run play, and go and let your corners take care of everything that's deep because they're always going to be pass first. So you'll still have a couple guys to keep you safe. But now we have 3-on-2. So we now have the numbers advantage back because we cross-keyed in the 21 personnel. Okay? So that's how we handle 21 personnel. That's how we handle split backs. All right? Hope that answered your question, Coach. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Coach Maddard also said the workout program is the bomb. Thank you, Coach. That thing took about 5 years to develop. And what that is, guys, that Coach XO's football workouts is you have a workout every single day of the year already planned for you. Not only that, we tell you how to get your kids in groups, how to rotate everybody through in 45 minutes. I always run about 65 people through a weight room with 12 stations a day, so it's super easy to get all your kids in and get them done. And it gets all their lifts in, has speed training built into it. And we've got coaches all over the country using that, so I appreciate that, Coach. Let's see. In full flow like this, where there's no opportunity for counter or reverse, what is your backside spur playing? Okay, that's a good question. What we always do, Coach, is we say go away, stay. This is in full flow, but I'm going to show you what he does on the backside. Basically, all our stud does on a backside of any play, once he sees flow going all the way away from him, he's going to always step forward. And if he sees flow away, he's going to stay right there, and he's going to go through this possession. He's going to say inside, counter, boot, reverse. He's always going to say that. We make him say that over and over. I'll stop kids in the hall and say, backside flow, what are you doing? He says, goes away, stay. And he'll say inside, counter, boot, reverse. And he has to say that to me exactly. I want it to be like a robot built into his brain. So he's going to sit there and check all those 4 plays first. And then once flow starts getting strung out to the sideline, all we tell him to do is we want you to bubble back to where the ball was, and you never, ever, ever, ever go past where the ball was. And the reason we do that is this. Let's say we turn this into a pitch, and I know we're getting a lot of arrows in here, but I'm going to take some of these out just so you can see what I'm talking about here. All right, take a few of these arrows out. All right, so let's say that we do get this strung out to a pitch, okay? And let's say our stud, oh, man, I'm crazy, and he goes into the backfield and he tries to attack that pitch man after the quarterback's pitched it. We're going to say he's already pitched it right here, okay? Where we see a lot of problems happen is this. The free safety is going to at least be to here if he does something stupid like that. What usually happens is the stud forces this to cut back against the grain. And the only vulnerable point at that point is right through here. All right? You ever seen a kid do that? He gets strung out. He gives this stud a little juke. Juke guy goes, whoop, misses. He's in the backfield. And this guy doesn't go to the sideline because he's cut off by the free safety. Free safety gets head up, doesn't attack the inside pocket. He cuts back against the grain. Okay? This guy got blocked. We'll say he's right there. So by telling the stud never go past the ball, what we do is he just kind of gets about 5 to 7 and he just kind of sits and watches the play. He is now sitting in this cutback lane. But we would rather him not be here to make sure that he checks all those things that could boot back to the backside first. But once he's checked that, he knows it's not reversing field and it's made it outside the tackle box. He knows that. He can just kind of bump to the middle, and we don't ever want him to go where the ball was spotted. Wherever the ball was spotted is the farthest you're allowed to go across the field. That way you can handle this cutback lane, but if something crazy happens, you can still get back into the – if this guy just does one of these numbers and he comes all the way back over here, go real fast, good kid, then he can get back into the play on this side of the field as well. So that's what we do on the backside stud with any kind of thing where he has determined flow, where he's made a good read. He checks inside, counter, boot, reverse. Inside, counter, boot, reverse. Once he checks all those things, and it's that fast, it's inside, counter, boot, reverse. All right, nothing's coming. I see flow moving away from me. Then my job is to take center field cutback. And he does that at about 7 yards. And it just gives us an extra guy if the worst case scenario happens. And it also stresses pursuit. We don't ever want a guy to just sit backside and wait. Okay? All right, let's see. Any more questions? Let's see here. Let's see. I'm not exactly sure. It says BCR. I'm not exactly sure what that means, Coach. So if you could clear that up in the chat real quick. Let me look down here. The aiming point, I got. Here's another question from Coach Gonzalez. He said, what is the aiming point of your D-line when they slant? Okay, Coach, if you go to 30defense.com, you can get a copy of the playbook, and I have a full chapter dedicated to the defensive line in that playbook. My playbook is free, or you can email me at shanesams@coachxo.com, and I'll send you a copy of that. But our D-line is always aiming in a slant toward the next man. We are not gap players. We are man players. We are not gap control. We are player control. So if they're on the tackle and they slant inside, I want them to destroy the guard. Because remember, on these option teams, the goal is to read people. That means they're not going to block linemen, so they want to jump offensive players through and hit linebackers. So we always want to aim toward the next guy, and we want to try to bump him, hit him, tackle him, do whatever we can to him to cause problems in the gaps and cause him to be able to get off of his blocking path to the linebackers. Okay? Got time for one more question. Oh, yeah, okay. Jerry, BCR means, okay, you call that bootleg counter reverse. Gotcha. All right, hope that answered that on the stud question. The backside stud is always responsible for, and we actually add inside to that, so it would be IBCR for us. I'm always worried about traps. You know that trap that just slips through and sneaks in, and there he goes through the A-gap, and all of a sudden he's off to the races. I always tell my stud to check there even before counter. That way it keeps him on that side, and he's looking inside for somebody squirting through with a football. So we actually say inside, counter, boot, reverse to make sure he checks everything before he goes to the backside flow. Okay? All right, guys, we are running out of time. I hope that presentation helped you understand a little bit more how to play with the option in the 30-stack defense. Could talk about this all day. We'll have more resources at 30defense.com for members. You can go in and just use the search bar and search for option. If you will just give me a second, you have to be present, so hang on for a second before we pick our winners. I'm going to choose the winners for the printed copies of my playbooks and also for the advanced playbook. So hang tight. I'm going to leave this drawing up if you want to take a look at that for a second, and I'll be right back with our winners for today's drawing. All right, guys, the winner of the printed copy of my book is Coach Bark. Coach Bark, you need to send Jocelyn a private message, or I'm sorry, you need to email me at shanesams@coachxo.com to let me know what your email address is and your address that I can mail out your playbooks. So that's shanesams@coachxo.com. Please email me. And the winner of the advanced playbook is Orville Banks. Coach Banks, you have won a free copy of my advanced playbook. And same thing, you need to email me at shanesams@coachxo.com so I have an email address to send that back to you. This webinar will be live and on this page until Friday. After Friday, it will be moved to the members-only section at 30defense.com. So if you want to go back and watch this again to get some more tips for the option or maybe take a few notes, go ahead and do that. I would love to hear from you guys. Give me some feedback. It would be awesome to let me know some tips you have for defending the option. I've been doing this for a long time, but I understand humbly that I do not have all the answers in this great game of football, and I love to learn about the game as much as you guys. So please, if you have any tips for defending the option, send me a message, and I am going to leave the sale prices up. If you want to get more incredible information like defense, go to 30defense.com. There's a private forum in there for members only. We got dozens and dozens of coaches in that website looking at all the game plan materials. My first game plan will be posted for the season next week. I'm going to be talking about how to defend the wing T, and then in week 2 we're going to talk about defending the spread option offense. So the goal of that website is to help you when you're practicing and your kids aren't getting it, when you need some help on your game plan. You will have support all season long over at 30defense.com, not only from me, but from coaches all around the country and the world. We've got guys from Germany and England in there as well running semi-pro ball that run our defense. Go ahead and join 30defense.com, and you will get help with your team, win more games all season long, and you get to work with a great community of coaches that are like-minded, think like you, and are running what I think is the best defense in football today for any level. All right? Thanks again for coming, guys. The sale prices are still up. Click that link, join30defense.com, and I will see you all next week. Keep an eye on the Facebook group and your email for the topic of our next web clinic. All right? Thanks.